Hello everybody and welcome to the UCD Smurfit Business School admissions webinar. So before we begin the webinar, we'd love to introduce ourselves. So my name is Keely and I'm one of the MSc admissions managers at the school. And this is Richard Murphy, who's also an MSc manager at the school.
Hi, nice to see you up. We're just waiting for a few more people to come in, so we might just give it just another 10 or 15 seconds to make sure everyone's here, and then we'll kick on the presentation. So I hope you're all in a nice warm place where you are today. It's a snowy day here in Dublin in Ireland, so I hear it's a bit of snow going across Europe, so nice and warm wherever you are, whatever time of day you're at.
So we're going to begin our webinar today. So to start, we're going to talk about some of our MSc programs. We'll then talk through how you apply to the school and give you some tips for your application. We'll also talk through the scholarships that are available at our school. And then we'll finish with some questions that we get asked quite frequently in admissions. There will be an opportunity at the end of the presentation to ask questions to us directly. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, you can put your questions in the chat, or else you can wait till the end of the webinar and then ask your questions through the chat then. So the UCD Smurfit Graduate Business School is Ireland's leading and top-ranked business school. We have a range of master programs that are constantly ranked in the Financial Times and the Economist Top 100. And we're also part of the triple accreditation, which less than 1% of business schools worldwide hold this accreditation. We do have a range of master programs, full-time and part-time, and we'll discuss them later on in the presentation. We do have a global alumni network of over 98,000 alumni, and we do have a dedicated careers team at Smurfit that help our students with CV preparation, applying for jobs, and they also hold career events throughout the year as well. So here are our master programs available at our school. Again, we have full-time programs and we also have part-time programs which take place over 2 years. We have a range of master programs from accounting, marketing, finance, and management. You can see here on the graph that we do have a lot of master programs for students that have studied business. However, if you haven't studied business before, there are master programs that you can apply for. So we've highlighted some of the master programs that if you haven't studied business before, you'd still be eligible to apply for. So for example, our marketing programs, so we have marketing and retail innovation, marketing practice, and our digital marketing program. We also have management programs and also our digital innovation program. So if you haven't studied business before and you're considering a master program, you may want to look at some of these masters. When you're deciding to choose the masters, it's really important that you research your program and look at the career opportunities from each of the programs. So on our website, we have a list of all our master programs, the modules you'll study, and career opportunities from this master program. So it's really important that you're picking a master that you'll gain a lot of knowledge from, but also that you will get the career and job opportunities that you want from the masters too. So the next part of our presentation is when you've decided what masters you'd like to apply for, then it's to make an application. So the application process is quite straightforward. All applications are done online. You will need to provide us with documents such as your academic transcripts and your CV. There are essay questions as part of the application, and then you hear back from the admissions team. So all in all, the application process should take about 30 to 45 minutes to complete if you have all your documents ready before you make your application. So now we're going to talk through the step-by-step process of applying to the school, and Richard's going to give us some tips about each process as well. So the first process is to actually make the application online. So you make your application through our application portal, and you can also apply for scholarships there as well. You can log into your application at any time and check for updates too. So Richard, do you have any tips for everybody?
Yeah, it's a simple one. Thanks, Laura. It's just try using a desktop or a laptop instead of a mobile device. So obviously a lot of people are using, phones and iPads and things like that these days. But I think it's fair to say the system would perform better, or it's easier to use if you use your desktop or laptop. And obviously, if you're making an application, you're probably also going to have lots of files, like transcripts and things like that that you want to upload. And I don't know, take from my own experience, it seems to be easier to use a laptop. So yeah, try using a laptop or a desktop computer if you can.
So the next part of the application is the documents. So as we said before, that you will need to upload documents to the application. So the first document we'll need to see are your academic transcripts. And we say all years. So for example, if you're in third year now, we need to see first and second year. And also if you've completed your degree, we would need to see all the years and your final result as well. We also would like to see a CV that's up to date and using any information on the CV that will be relevant to the program you're applying for, and also, if required, an English language test. So Richard, do you have any tips for the documents?
Yeah, I think this is always a slightly tricky one, isn't it? It always comes up in our Q&As. There's never a very singular set amount of documents that we need depending on which course or where you're coming from in the world. So these are kind of just general ones we look for. So the transcripts, the CV, and obviously if you're not coming from an English speaking country, an English language test. But just one thing that comes up a lot for international students is regarding English language tests. So you don't have to have that completed before you apply. That's just one thing. So I know it kind of goes against the first line of the tip there. So have all your documents ready before your application. What we mean there is, get as much stuff as you can at this point in your application journey. So like Laura said, obviously most people, I think about 70%, maybe even 80% of our applicants are coming direct from university. So at this stage, you haven't obviously got your final result yet. You're in your final potentially semester right now. So just provide what you've got so far. And then again, pretty much just hammering home the English language test bit is that you don't need to have it done for us to make you a conditional offer. We'll talk about that in a second. And there's other things as well there we'll talk about in regards to the offers. But just one last bit there is our jobs. We have thousands of applications to get through every year, which is a great problem to have. But it just makes our job a little bit easier if you can name your documents clearly and have your transcripts maybe in year 1, year 2, year 3, all in the same file potentially as a PDF, and maybe one that's not turned that way and this way. Just from a missions manager's point of view, it just makes things a little bit easier to get through your application if everything's nice, clearly laid out and labeled. So yeah, there you go.
And then the final part of the application would be the essay questions. So there are 2 essay style questions regarding the MSc program. And Richard, do you have any tips for the essay questions?
Yeah, these aren't any secret. So you can see this yourself when you go in to start your application, and you can save it and go back out again. It's not like it's a test. So effectively, I'm just paraphrasing here slightly, but the first question is basically, why should we pick you? That's a very open-ended sort of question. And obviously we're looking for things like leadership skills and extracurricular activities, something that makes maybe you slightly more unique than say the next applicant. We don't necessarily hear that you skydived out of a hot air balloon over, Zambia, but it's just something that, where things are maybe a bit more applicable to your business school application. And then the second question is where you would see yourself in maybe 5 years' time. And this is the one that we probably look at a little bit more. And to see that you've done your homework really, so that you've looked into the outcomes of the program. Maybe you've already talked to us, you don't have to, or talk to a student through our website, or reached out to someone on LinkedIn. Again, all these things you don't have to have done, but just to show that that when you do this course, that maybe this particular module interests you because it's going to get you to maybe this area in a job afterwards and down the line. So it's just to show us that your expectation will be matched by what we're going to be able to deliver as well. So it's an important one, just particularly to really show us that you've done your kind of research on the program and its modules.
And then once you have your essay questions and the documents uploaded to your application, you then submit your application. So to submit the application, there is a €50 application fee. And just to make sure that you have all the essay questions completed and all the documents that we need submitted with your application. So Richard, any more tips on submitting the application?
Yeah, just like I said a little bit earlier, again, just regards to the documents, just try your best to get everything that you need. It's not like it's a one-off, sort of test where you submit everything. And if we do need something or more clarification, we will get back to you. But obviously, try your best to get everything upfront and ready in one go. And as Laura said, it's the €50 application fee, which is fairly standard across all universities pretty much around the world at this stage. We don't see your application until you've paid your fee. So just be aware of that. So even a lot of people sometimes think they've submitted it, but you'll see it'll be very clear on the actual the portal when you've actually submitted it, and then you'll get the email confirmation to say it's gone through. Then, just as I mentioned there, the one application fee allows you to apply for more than one course. And just this is a common question we get, and just touching it really quickly now, is that, yeah, you can apply for more than one course, but we do try to recommend to try to keep it to certainly no more than 3, because that might show us that you're not entirely sure what you want to do. And like I just mentioned, the last tip, it's important that you've researched your program and that you know what you want to do before you apply. So that it really shows us that you're motivated, that you're clear on what you want to do, you're clear what you want to do afterwards. So I think that's very important. But as I say there, you can apply for more than one course with the same application fee, not €50 per course.
And then you will hear back from the admissions team. So there's 3 outcomes from your application. The first one is an offer. So what this would mean is that you've met all the conditions of your application. So for example, you have finished your degree and gotten the grade that we've required. The second would be a conditional offer. So you can apply to the business school without having your degree completed. So for example, if you're in final year, you can apply and you would get what we call a conditional offer. And we would state what the condition on your offer would be. For example, if it's getting a 2-1 honours in your final result, and then the final result there would be a no offer. And we do provide feedback on our applications as well. So Richard, do you have any tips for the results?
Just be patient. That's the only thing I'll say to you, to be honest with you. It's we do say that it can take up to 3 weeks, and depends on your region and where you are in the world, because there's certain internal workings as to how applications are processed. So for example, like applications from maybe Asia might go through to the local office and then they come through to us. So they do take some time. So just to be patient, and we will get through to everybody. And one of the main things really is that you will see on your portal, and you will get notified via an email when your application status changes. So you don't necessarily need to contact us to ask like what's the situation. We will get back to you. And equally, as I mentioned, if there's something else that we need for clarification, we will get back to you on that as well. So just be patient. We will get back to you. It's a very busy time, certainly this year at the moment anyway. So we appreciate your patience.
So if you are given a full offer or conditional offer, you have 2 weeks to accept your place and pay the deposit. So your deposit can be €500 for some of our MSc programs, and in certain programs, it's €1,000. So Richard, do you have any tips on accepting your place?
Yeah, well, hopefully anyone who gets offered is delighted and will accept straight away. But obviously, look, we're not silly enough to realize that you may be applying elsewhere. Now, our offers, as Laura says, they're last 2 weeks. So, and that tied in with how we operate our admissions process, where we do things on a rolling basis. So it's a first come, first served. It basically means that we're not waiting till sort of May, have a deadline, we assess everybody, we offer everyone. It's really a first come, first serve. So therefore, accepting your place is very important, because we can't extend your offer indefinitely. And as you can see, as I mentioned there, offers will lapse and people have lost their place because of this. So look, just try your best to accept within that time frame. If there's an extreme extenuating circumstance, we may be able to, although not guarantees, we may be able to extend it for a little while. But that's only in extreme circumstances. But generally speaking, most students would accept within the first day or two. And this all goes back to sort of making sure that you know this is the course that you want to do, that you're happy with everything that you've talked, you've reached out to students and lecturers perhaps, that you're happy before you apply, so that when you do apply, it's a straightforward process, you accept your place. And I think also time-wise, just from talking to students, Laura, would you agree that now is a good time to sort of get that application in, not only because certain courses are already closing and nearly filled, but because, as I say, most of you are probably going to be doing your final exams now the next few months. And the last thing that you probably want is that kind of uncertainty as to where you're going to go for next year, particularly in the world the way it is right now. So by getting your application in, getting your offer and accepting it, it guarantees your spot now for this coming September. So that might be a relief as you go into your final exams. Yeah.
So the next part of our presentation is talking about our scholarships. So we do have a range of scholarships at the school. So all our scholarships are listed on our website at the Smurfit School, and the closing dates and also when the scholarships open are all listed there too. So the first scholarship we're going to talk about is Aspire. So some of our scholarships you do need to make a separate application for. So if you are applying for Aspire, you would need to make an application. This is a financial and merit-based needs scholarship. So there is an online application. The applications close the 7th of May. So if you are thinking of applying for this scholarship, you can make an application once you've submitted your MSc application. So you would need to make an application for this scholarship. The next scholarship is our 5% UCD alumni tuition reduction. So if you've studied your undergraduate degree at UCD, there is a 5% tuition reduction. You do not need to apply for this. It will be automatically added to your fees. The next scholarships are our merit-based scholarships. So these are our academic scholarships. So they are primarily based on your final grade in your degree. So for our merit-based scholarships, we have 4 scholarships. So we have our Michael Smurfit Scholarship. So that's awarded to students that would have completed their undergraduate degree and gotten a very good grade. And again, you don't need to apply for this scholarship. You're automatically considered when you apply to the school. We do have a new scholarship this year called the MSc Academic Excellence Scholarship. And again, for this scholarship, you don't need to apply for. It is based on academic grades. And when you apply to the school, again, you're automatically considered for this scholarship too. And again, if you are thinking about this scholarship, you would have to make an MSc application to the school before the 31st of May. So just to keep in mind, some of our scholarships do close in the coming months. So you would need to make an MSc application to be considered for them. There are 2 other merit-based scholarships. So if you've studied in UCD, there is the merit-based UCD Graduate Studies Scholarship. You do need to apply for that. So when you make your MSc application, you can apply for that scholarship then. And then we also have a merit-based scholarship for students that have studied in Ireland, but not on UCD. So this is called the UCD Non-Graduate Scholarship. And again, an application will be needed for this. And then for those scholarships, the application closes the 1st of August. And then our final scholarship that we're going to talk about today is the Sports Scholarship. So again, this scholarship will be available in the summer months, and you do have to make an application for this scholarship. So just to kind of go over the scholarships, majority of the scholarships you don't need to apply for. You're automatically considered once you make an application for the MSc programs. But just to bear in mind, some of them do have earlier scholarship kind of closing dates to be considered for. So that's why we always say to make an early application to the MSc programs. And if you're thinking about the Aspire, the UCD graduate or the UCD non-graduate, you do have to make an application for them. And just remember, Aspire is the 7th of May, and then the UCD graduate and non-graduate are the 1st of August. And Richard, do you have anything else to add for our scholarships?
Yeah, thanks, Laura. I think just maybe 2 points, because we're getting a lot of questions on that new academic excellence scholarship. It's just to point out, we did have up to previous years, we had a lot of, say, different scholarships for different nationalities, or depending on regions of where you're coming from in the world. And what we tried to do is, it was getting complicated for applicants to understand. Basically, what we've done is we've amalgamated a lot of these scholarships, and the funding have actually managed to increase our funding into this academic excellence scholarship. So in case you may have seen or heard before that maybe there was a scholarship for a particular country, now it's all within this academic excellence scholarship. So it's a bit easier to see, and the details are all up on our website, obviously, on that link. So just one point just to mention, because I know we're getting a lot of questions about that at this stage. And then really the main point that I just wanted to say is that all of our scholarships are extremely competitive, or it's very competitive to get a scholarship here for ourselves in UCD. And I think that's partly reflective in the fee, because comparatively speaking, compared to other top 50, top 100 business schools, our fees are actually relatively good value. But the other big thing really is just that I would ask that you can definitely try to afford to do your course before, or without needing a scholarship, because as I say, they are competitive, and we don't want to be in a situation where you've gone through the whole application process, you've got your offer, and then ultimately you don't get a scholarship, and then that might impinge on how you can fund your course. So really, I think the way I look at the scholarships, or try to get it across to applicants, is that try to do your course, or fund your course yourself. If you get a scholarship, it's a big bonus, and obviously it's a prestige element to that as well. But look, we'll try our best where we can to make sure that we increase our fundings and the amount of scholarships we have. But just those are the two big things I just wanted to say there in relation to scholarships. So thanks, Laura.
Thanks. So the next part of our webinar is just kind of going over questions that we get asked quite a lot in admissions. So the first question is, can I apply for more than one course? So the answer to that is yes. So for example, our MSc marketing, we have 4 marketing programs. So we have marketing, digital marketing, we also have our marketing, retail innovation, and marketing practice. So you might be looking at the area of marketing and looking at these 4 programs, and you might narrow it down to 2 programs, but you can't decide which one. So you can apply for both. It's all under the one application fee of the €50. You do need to submit 2 separate applications for each program, but you will be considered for both programs. If you do know which one is your first preference, though, you can put number 1 beside your first preference, and then so on. So the answer to that question is yes, you can apply for more than one program, but we would recommend that you research the programs and just kind of narrow it down rather than applying for 8 or 9 programs. It's better to do your research and really to know which programs you'd like to apply for. The next question is, when should I apply? So applications are open at the moment. However, we would say once you know the program you'd like to apply for, to apply as soon as you can. It is done on a rolling basis, so and the spaces do fill up quite quickly. So we would say when you know you want to apply for the course and what program you've chosen, to apply as soon as you can. The next question, are there scholarships? Yes, so we have a range of scholarships at the school. Majority of our scholarships are merit-based, so that means based on your final academic results. But there are numerous amounts of scholarships that we have. We have the Aspire Scholarship, we have our Michael Smurfit, the Academic Excellence, we have sports scholarships, and then we have merit-based scholarships as well. So we would recommend that you would look through our website and see which scholarships that you would be eligible for. And a lot you don't need to apply for, you're automatically considered when you apply for your MSc program. And then I'll let Richard answer the last 2 questions.
Thanks, Laura. So how do I accept my place? So let's say you're hopefully lucky enough to get an offer. On your offer email, you basically should get two emails. One is like an official offer letter that goes through the system, and then there's an email that we send out from the admissions team as well. And on our email, there's full details of how you accept your place. But basically, it's just going back into your portal where you have an option to accept or reject. And if you accept it, then you have to pay your acceptance deposit. And this acceptance deposit, as Laura's pointed out earlier on in the presentation, is either €500 or €1,000, depending on your course, or potentially where you're coming from in the world. So just be careful of that, because this would be the moment in some respects to sort of commitment, because the deposits are non-refundable. Now, if for some reason you couldn't take your place this year, I'm sort of diversifying slightly from the acceptance, but just as an extension of this question, there has been, because of COVID, there has been a deferral process on a case-by-case basis being put in place. So it's very much case-by-case. It's not a sweeping process that we're giving to everybody. In that case, your deposit would transfer over to the following year. And the same with any deposits. If you ultimately can't come and do your place here, or you want to accept somewhere else, your deposit still stays here in UCD. So you can use it against any course at any other stage. But most people will accept, and that's basically the process for doing it. So it's all fairly self-explanatory on the offer letter. But please feel free to reach out to us in the admissions office if you're having any confusion or trouble in accepting your place, and we'll be happy to help you. And then the last one is a good one. As I kind of mentioned already earlier on in the presentation, I think it's a extremely important idea or thing to do, to speak to a current student on the program. Obviously, you can speak to alumni through LinkedIn as well, and graduates that way. At open days, there's Q&A sessions at these seminars that are happening later on, so you get the chance to normally speak to an academic director or a program manager for your program. But obviously the current students, because they are doing the course right now, so they're probably the best place to speak about it. But also, more importantly, it was only a few months back that they were actually in the same situation that you are. So I think it's a good idea to try to give to reach out to students. Now, we have a part of our website called Ask a Student or Chat to a Student. If I can, I'll copy and paste that into the Q&A section here, so you should all hopefully be able to see it, or the chat box. And that's a really good opportunity to speak to current students. We have about 82 different student ambassadors who are in all the different courses, and from lots of different regions from around the world too. So you can probably find someone from maybe your home country who's doing your course and reach out to them. So I think it's a great idea to do that. If you can't find it on our website, please send an email to Smurfit.admissions, and we'll happily send the link on to you as well. Okay.
Great. So this is just the end of our presentation. So what we're going to do next is we're going to answer your questions. So if you have any questions now, you can put them into the question and answers part of the webinar. And if you want as well to email us, our email is smurfit.admissions@ucd.ie, and our website is thesmurfitschool.ie. So we're now going to start answering some of your questions.
Yeah, just having a look through here. And just one thing we'll say is that we'll try our best to answer as many as we can. If there's anything that's a bit too particular to your individual application, we probably will skim across that, but do, as Laura said, email us and we'll try to get back to you. And maybe just one thing I just want to point out as well, just take a look at the schedule for the rest of the open day, because there's lots of obviously different course presentations. We'll be doing this again at 4 o'clock. So if you wanted to tune into that, you can hear. If you tuned into this late, we'll be back on 4 o'clock. This is all obviously GMT time. But there's one probably talk that might be good, which is the careers talk with our careers manager, Michael O'Donnell, who's at 3:30 p.m. Irish time. That'd be a good one, because obviously it's going to talk a little bit about the careers, and particularly obviously with the COVID situation, how things are being affected. So probably quite a useful one to tune in if you can. So Laura, Q&A, do you want to take one first, or will I take one first?
Yeah, I'll take the first one. So there's a question here about your academic references. So yes, so in terms of references, they can be from an employer as well. So they don't necessarily have to be academic, so they can be from an employer. The only programs that we require them for is our SEMS program. They need to be written references. However, for our other programs, they don't necessarily need to be academic. They could be work references. And you can also say references available upon request. And if we need to, we will ask for them then.
Great. And there's another question here, which is in relation to this English language test required if the undergraduate degree is done in English itself. That's actually a very good question. I would obviously refer you to have a look at the English requirements section on our website. It's quite clear. It says there what the policy is. It isn't just Smurfit policy, it's a wider UCD policy too. But basically, yeah, you have to do an English language test, even if your degree is through English in a non-speaking English country. So basically, there's a list of English-speaking countries. If you're lucky enough to do your degree in English, obviously through one of those countries, then there's no requirement. Or obviously, if your citizenship is from one of the English-speaking countries too. But for that kind of, I think for that particular question, someone's maybe asking, we get it a lot. There's, for example, there's a lot of schools in Europe where the programs were taught through English, but you would have to be in an English-speaking country. So I hope that answers that question. But do check out the details on the English language section on our website too.
And so the next question is about the deposit. Is it refundable? So once you pay your deposit, it isn't refundable. However, if you apply again to the school, your deposit basically stays with the school. So to answer that question, no, deposits aren't refundable.
Yeah, no question here. The prerequisites for each course is mentioned in the overview slide. So again, if you go onto our website, there's an eligibility criteria section on our website. There's a little bit more detail put in there, but generally speaking is what we listed off. Now again, that's for most of our programs. You know, references are required for some, but not for others. It's no harm to have references for all if you have to, but the one thing about references is that sometimes they're quite hard to get or slow to get, particularly if it's maybe from a former employer or from an academic in your university. So I wouldn't, if it's not required, I wouldn't let the reference, you know, slow you down and get your application in, because time is of the essence at this stage. You know, there's other things. We don't actually require GMATs. Other than for the MBA, but for most of our programs, we don't require GMATs as well. So things like that. So it's just, you know, if you're unsure, just reach out to us. We'll let you know. But it should be pretty self-explanatory on there. And again, as I mentioned, if there's something that you were missing, we will be getting back to you. So don't worry too much. If there's something that you miss out on, we will get back to you.
And there's just some questions about our scholarships. So are they needs-based or academic-based? So the majority of our scholarships are academic-based, so merit-based. Now we do have a needs-based scholarship, the Aspire Scholarship. However, it is academic as well. So majority of the scholarships would be merit-based, so based on your academic grades.
Yeah, another question here in relation to uploading your CV. Will I upload this document in the additional documentation section? That's generally it. Yeah, there should be, and maybe it's not for everybody, but because it's actually a manual thing. There's someone vets your application first before it comes to us, and they'll put in, you know, certain things, but there should be a section for your CV. If there isn't, just additional documentation is the bit. And again, additional documentation, you can add anything in there, whatever you want. So it's a pretty good one to add other documents in. Again, as always, if you're having problems uploading anything, just reach out to us and we'll get back to you. Well, I'll just take the next one. There's a couple of Laura just taking a few in a row, so sure might as well. I'm on the roll. Is there any age limit for eligibility for scholarships? No. Straight up, simple answer. Can I choose to do classes virtually for the second year of the part-time program? Again, simple answer, no. Not currently anyway. There may be plans in the much longer term to do some options online. Obviously, there are distance learning programs and part-time programs that you could look at. For example, management part-time or via distance. But generally speaking, all our programs are obviously normally face-to-face programs, and that's the way they are hopefully going to be for this September, which I'm sure there's probably other questions about that. So Laura, I'll let you answer the next one.
Yes, so there's just questions about the lectures in September, how they'll be delivered. So at the moment, the delivery is online. However, we would go by the government guidelines. So in terms of September, we wouldn't be too sure just yet how the programs are going to be delivered. We should know better by the summertime, and we'd obviously let everybody know when we find out throughout the summer months as well. And so for the moment, this semester is online. but we wouldn't be too sure just yet how the September semester will be delivered.
And like we can't give any guarantees in this, and this is the big sort of problem, because again, most people watching this will be asking the same core question. Look, I think the main thing to say is that at the moment the vaccine rollout's going quite well across certainly Europe and Ireland. It's doing good. We're on target at the moment, even with some sort of vaccine shortage. So we're doing good. And our Minister for Health has come out and said that anybody who wants to have had a vaccination in Ireland will have had been done by the end of the summer. And the government's priority always has been number one, education. Number two, probably construction and other things too. But number one is education. So it is the government's priority to make sure that education is the first thing to reopen and go back to normality. So at the moment, we obviously it's what is it, 8 months away, 7 months away. So we can't say right now how things will be, but things are looking good and positive. Just keep up to date with us. And also don't forget as well, one of the big things, these courses that you're doing are 1 year long courses, generally speaking, unless you're doing a 2-year part-time. So, if there was a little bit of blended learning in the sense of sort of face-to-face distance learning along with online for the first semester, all going well by January, though, a year from now, things will be a lot more different again. And hopefully we'll see at some part of your course at least would be fully normal. But we're hopeful, but do keep in contact with us, and all of this information, there's a specific site or a part of the website on the UCD website and on the Smurfit website, which lists the most up-to-date COVID information. So do keep checking in with that. But we do understand your concerns, just to point that out. So Laura, do you want to do the next one? I think you've kind of answered that one already, haven't you, about the scholarships?
Yeah, so exactly for the scholarships. So majority of them you are considered for, they are academic based. If you are applying for the Aspire, the non-UCD graduate or the graduate, you do have to make a separate scholarship application, and you can check all the information about the scholarships on our website under the scholarship page. All the opening and closing dates are all there.
Kind of skip the next one because it's kind of answered. Then we'll be traveling to Ireland in September. It has to be online, offline. Kind of just touched on that. Hope that helped. But just in relation to actually traveling, if you're an international student, generally speaking, our classes would start in mid-September, depending on how things roll out. We actually started late September this year, but we'll see how that works out. But generally speaking, we ask that you arrive, if you're an international student, arrive in Ireland by August, probably mid-August. Give yourself a few weeks for the accommodation settling in. And then orientation is always the week before classes start as well. So you have to be there for that. So look, we'll be in touch with us if you are accepted. All these sort of details will be given to you over the next few months anyway. So just keep an eye out.
And we also have a question about when does the applications open for September 2022. So our application will open the 1st of October 2021 for the 2022 intake.
Yeah, it's good to see someone's thinking about September 2022, of course. Actually, we as Laura just said, we reopen our applications on the 1st of October every month, every year, I beg your pardon. And this year we had about 200-300 applications coming in the same day, which I don't know if that means anything to you, but it's a lot in the one day. So people were just waiting for it to reopen. So we're well up on even last year's figures for applications, which is it's a good problem to have, but it just makes things a little bit more competitive. So again, as we I think mentioned already in the presentation, apply early is really the key, because we do offer places on a first come first served basis. So get your applications in as soon as you can if you haven't already. I'd like to take the next one in relation to part-time student for strategic management. Yeah, like that, to be honest, that's a little bit of a tricky one to answer maybe right now on this. So just one thing I would say to you is that most of our part-time offerings are what we call daytime part-time. So in other words, it's a full-time program just split over 2 years. So just be careful with that. I think our project management program is the only one that we're kind of officially doing, and obviously MBA that we're doing sort of in the more sort of traditional part-time evening or weekend form. But regards most of our part-time offerings, they're kind of basically splitting the full-time course. So that might mean, just for example, it depends on how the timetable works out, but you could be a Thursday afternoon for an hour or two, and then maybe a Tuesday morning, and basically doing 2 semesters, or 2 modules per semester. So yeah, look, it could be tricky, particularly if you're trying to travel. So do reach out, and maybe we'll have an individual chat to you about that one, if you're interested. Laura, do you want to do the next one there?
Yeah, there's just another question about what part-time are in the evening. So as Richard said, so majority of our programs are during the day. There is the MSc in project management, which is in the evening time, but that would be the only evening part-time course that wouldn't take part in the day. And we just have another question here about the MSc merit-based scholarships for UCD students. What's the result? So we look to be eligible for a lot of our scholarships, a mid to one honours to a first class honours. However, the scholarships are very competitive, so it is based on your final grade. So really, a first class honours would be what we'd be looking for those scholarships, especially the academic ones.
Yeah, there's a few sort of questions that are similar enough to ones we've already answered. I'm just gonna skipping through there. Let me see. Are you? Sorry, Laura, if you missed anything you want to answer, I'm having a quick read here. Oh, actually, this is a good one there. Just quite interesting in relation to their scholarships, which is slightly different. If you're being sponsored to do a master's by company, can you still apply to get a scholarship from Smurfit? Laura, you're kind of scholarship manager. I'll let you answer that one, or do you want me to?
Yes, so you can apply for a scholarship if you do have sponsorship as well. So the scholarships are based on your academic grades. So yes, you can apply for scholarships. Yeah.
Okay, great. One from Joseph. I know you well, Joseph. How are you doing? Lord Richard, when do we get our UCD email address? That's one that the program office do. It's not handled by us in admission. So basically, as far as I'm aware, it's much later in the year, isn't it, Laura, when you when the program office are basically registering you. So it's usually, and I could be corrected or open to being corrected here on this one, but I think it's usually late summer that you start getting that email address. And a few other things. Laura, do you have anything else to add on that one?
No, we just have another question here as well, just about if you want to apply for 2 courses, do you recommend the essay questions? So yes, so you would need to, if you're applying for 2 different courses, you would need to change the essay questions to reflect the course you're applying for. So yes to that question. And if you are applying for 2 courses, just to make sure that the essay questions match the course that you're applying for.
Yeah, and I would even go as far as say that, look, it mentioned in your essay that you've applied for this course and this course. But the other thing, sorry, just actually, that I don't know if we did mention this, Laura, did we, that if you are applying for multiple courses, that you have to preference them. Preference them 1, 2, and 3, and that's extremely important you do preference them, because it could slow down your whole application if you don't. So there's a way of doing that's very clear on our system. So what we do is we only look at your top preference first. Obviously, you can only attend 1 course. So if you look at your top preference and you get offered that, we give you a status called superseded for the others. So superseded basically means, look, you've been offered your first preference, that's it. So what I would say to you though is, just in your essays, just make sure that you write, well, this is my top preference, I want to do this, but I have applied for this course as a backup option, just in case I don't get into this one, for example. And just this particular person, I think, has written SEMS, our international management program, is ranked 8th in the world. There's a SEMS talk at 12 o'clock today if you want to tune into that at the open day. I'll be at that again myself. So SEMS is an extremely prestigious course, and it is very competitive to get into. So I think a lot of times other students would apply for potentially for the Masters in Management, which is a slightly different one. We'll go into the reasons why, but also then the international business is probably usually the sort of second preference. And just to point out, international business is a phenomenally good course in its own right. So I do highly recommend it, but that's what people probably do with regards to that SEMS. SEMS probably number 1. If you don't get that, then you have international business as your sort of fallback option. I'm just asking, there's one there, Jamie Sullivan's just written in, do you reckon with COVID there'd be less international students? And actually, it was just being very honest and open here. We genuinely didn't know how things would be affected come this September just gone. But actually, we have had a lot of international students come over. Generally speaking, our ratio of international to Irish students is about 50-50. it's a really sort of good sort of ratio, because it's kind of the holy grail ratios across most universities, because it gives domestic students plenty of opportunities to meet international students and network, and international students then have the sort of domestic flavor is the reason why they want to come to study in Ireland. And so actually that ratio is pretty much only fluctuated by a few percent. So we're actually nearly bang on what we are every year with that. So something we're particularly proud of, and delighted that so many international students were able to make it across. So we've only got a minute, I think, literally left. There's lots of other questions to get through. I hope we've answered some of these. Laura, do you see anything there that might be useful to mention?
Just in regards to the requirements for the program, so what I would recommend is to look at our website. So it'll list, what program or what degree and the eligibility for each of the programs, what degree you've studied, the minimum entry requirements. So we do say minimum entry requirements for programs. However, what we would say is just if you are thinking of applying, to submit your application, and we do consider, it's not just academic grades, we consider work experience, your CV, the essay questions, and also just as well, it's not just your final result, and we look at the full application when we're processing applications.
Just really quick, there's a lot of questions here asking about, are there, are there a presentation on this course or this course? If you go to the main events registration website that you would have registered on, there's a presentation schedule there, which lists off the schedule. There's 2 tracks, so there's 2 sort of different Zoom rooms you can go to, and there's different presentations in each one. Now, obviously not every course, we have 22 different masters, not every course can be represented today, but there are other events that we do throughout the year, and there will be definitely at some point a talk about your individual course, and obviously reach out to us. We can set up a one-to-one with you as well. So just think, is there anything else quickly we can maybe mention? One last minute, maybe. Is anything else? I just want to see one academic reference, professional reference required, company, college, letterhead. Yeah, preferably, if possible. And sometimes academics or others might email them to us directly if they wanted to do that as well. Average ages, you can of course pursue your master's if you're in your mid-30s, no problem. Of course, as require set class honors, is it realistic to apply with the 2-2? We're open to discussion. It's not necessarily a hard and fast rule. There's lots of other holistic ways we look at an admissions process here. So interviews, we could do an interview potentially, and we could do other things. So, get in touch with us. We can't do kind of like a pre-assessment. Unfortunately, it's the volume, so we can't sort of look at you and go, yes, you should or shouldn't. My honest advice is just get an application in, and we'll go from there. Hopefully we can get you somewhere. Laura, have you seen anything there jumping out at you just the last sort of 30 seconds?
Just to really say that if you are thinking of applying, to try and apply as soon as you can. And if you have any questions, you can contact us directly at the Smurfit admissions. So it's smurfit.admissions@ucd.ie.
Yeah, and look, there's some great questions, and I think the main thing to say is that these questions, we get a transcript of these questions, and we'll be trying our best to answer these. And just as I said, I think right at the get-go, applications and queries are absolutely through the roof at the moment. So our apologies, but it may be a delay in not only just processing your application, but also in getting back to you on certain things. But we will obviously try our best to get back to you as soon as we can. So look, hopefully this has been useful, and you've enjoyed it so far. As I said, again, we'll be on at 4 o'clock ourselves, again, doing the same sort of presentation and talk and having a Q&A. So potentially if you're around and didn't get your question answered there, hop on early and get your question in early in the Q&A box, and we might be able to get to it a little bit earlier in the presentation. But the main thing is, look, reach out to us and we will get back to you. So I hope you found this useful today. Laura, if you have anything else you want to add before we close up?
Yeah, just thank you so much for listening to our webinar today. And we have multiple webinars on some of our programs. If the programs aren't listed, there are videos on the website as well for each program too, so you can find the information there too. And just thank you again for listening.
Thank you.